people, the Independent National Electoral Commission, to locate them in the appropriate places.
But the same question still remains. Yes, because there are those who may be watching from Benue State now. We know what transpired there, how they have a huge number of people who were displaced at that time. So what will you tell those people concerning why they don't have a VPS and FCT has?
No, no. The people that were displaced from their natural from their natural settlements, from the places where they registered, their own situation is slightly different. We are talking about internally displaced persons and people who have moved to new settlements. The IDPs are not permanent settlers in the places where they are. The whole issue is that when situation normalizes in where the IDPs were displaced from, they may likely go back. So the arrangements we are making for the IDPs is slightly temporary. The IDPs will vote in accordance with their registration areas. So we are not creating any new polling unit for IDPs. We are not creating any polling center for them. That is why we separated the IDPs into two. That those who are displaced and are in the state where they are displaced, they can vote in every election. But any
Mr. Okoye, just a minute, if I could jump in there.
Yeah.
Still in the context of new settlements now, because part of the reason why the Electoral Act wasn't assented to, remember, was to avoid any sort of confusion. So if he is saying that, look, the time is too short, how are people going to know that they've been migrated, this is where they're going to vote? Isn't that part of the same confusion that's going to be caused in FCT that we're trying to avoid? Okay, well, we seem to have lost in there. But Mr. Onyekpere, the response he gave concerning what will be created and how those ones, it still doesn't address your fears, does it?
Very well. The issue of clarity, how did the criteria, how did you arrive at this VPS? And why Abuja, just like you mentioned, why not in Benue, why not in other places, still remains unanswered. And the whole idea that this is being done less than, what is today, less than 6 weeks to an election, is something that's a bit creating a lot of confusion and also may create some fears in the mind of neutrals who may be questioning. And like I did say, that the process of creating a polling unit is statutory. It's not only for INEC. And since all these stakeholders have not been involved and the time is short, I would have thought that INEC would have simply allowed the status quo to remain, simply go ahead, conduct the elections. After the elections, as part of the learning process and what they take on board, they now go through the statutory process and then ensure that new polling units are created, because there are still unanswered questions. What criteria did you use? Why FCT? Why not in other places? And just like you did mention, will everybody be sensitized enough to know that you have moved from point A to point B to vote? So there will still be a lot of challenges at the end of the day. So that's why we are saying it is not the best thing to do at this point in time.
But there was a part where he said that political parties were all, in his words, carried along. They knew about this before it occurred. So if that were the case, isn't that crying wolf what there's none?
Well, if political parties in the FCT were consulted, I don't know about that. But this should have been a nationwide consultation process, not FCT alone, so that others who face similar situations could also enjoy the benefits of whatever the VPS will create. But even the fact of consulting political parties doesn't take away the statutory process. That's why I'm insisting on that statutory process. If the law says you should do A, B, C before you create a D, and then you go and do E, F, G, yes, it's good to consult, and then still come back to create a G. You haven't satisfied the requirements of the law. So whoever feels called upon to do what he considered to be equitable, to make sure that people are not disenfranchised, should scrupulously and meticulously observe the forms and the rules of law before he arrives at that decision. And it should also be a fair decision across board and across the whole federation. So merely consulting political parties and maybe CSOs does not obviate the wrong.
Yeah, but Mr. Okoye, was there a nationwide consultation before this transpired?
Let me just say, you see, this whole issue, just a minute, this whole issue about voting point settlements is not a new creation, it's not a new idea. We use this during the 2016 area council elections. Nobody said anything about it. Now, the places like Prince and Princess settlements, these are new settlements, and their nearest polling unit is more or less like 5, 6, 7 kilometers away. So what we have done is to attend to the challenge created by some of these new settlements, so that they don't have to go to 5 miles away or 5 kilometers away or 10 kilometers away to go and vote on a day that there's restriction. We used the voting point settlement during the area council elections, and there was wide consultation in relation to this.
Okay, Mr. Okoye, sorry if I may come here. There's really no time, so let's get this in so that I can put it all together. Okay, you used it first in you said 2015, the council elections in the FCT. The fact that you used it before, does that make it right? That's one. Then number two, how is it that the other states are not having voting point settlements as well? Are there no displaced persons in those areas?
No. There are three challenges relating to this displacement. The voting point settlements are in the FCT. Now, in the other states, we have harvested the places where we have internally displaced persons. And the law has also given us the opportunity and the right to make special provisions for them, which we have made. So in terms of voting, every Nigerian that is properly registered, we are going to make arrangements to ensure that the person or the persons who are displaced or the persons in new settlements have the opportunity and the right to vote. And the law guides us in relation to this. And we are going to do what the law says, and we are going to do what is right to make sure that every Nigerian has an opportunity of casting his or her vote.
So you're saying categorically that this is not creating voting polling units through the back door?
It's not creating polling units through the back door. But even if it is creating, it's not creating polling units through the back door, because everything we have done and everything we do, we are going to account for it under the law, and we are going to be very open with the Nigerian people, and we are going to engage in wide consultations. So everything we are doing is backed by the law, and everything we are doing will be done through a process of consultation, and it will be transparent.
All right, Mr. Festus Okoye, the National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee of INEC, as well as Mr. Onyekpere, the Lead Director, Center for Social Justice. Thank you for talking to us today on the program. All right, so we'll be back in just a moment and continue our focus on the preparations for the elections, some of the guidelines stipulated by INEC, role of security agencies, and what do the political parties think of this? That will be in a moment. Stay with us.